Okay, so skill can bring before the king. So there's two important questions you should ask when you read that title. Attention, please. All right, two things to remember when you read that title. First of all, what is skill? Secondly, who is the king? Okay, two things that you need to think about. But before I go to how this applies to you, I want to tell you one example from the Bible and also explain a little bit about what skill is and whether you have it or not, okay? So, we'll read the verse first. Proverbs 22:29. Nishaka mentioned it in her presentation earlier today. Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank. Okay? Can everyone see that? It's a verse from the Bible. If you have a Bible at home, you should go home and read it. Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank. Okay? So first of all, what does it mean to be skillful? Any ideas? Daniel? Anyone else? What does it mean to be skillful? It's not a trick question. I'm just asking to see what you guys think. To be like Thomas. Okay, a bit more specific than that would be good. To be good at something. Okay, good. So skill, according to the dictionary, is the ability to do something. Okay, so it's very close to what you guys just said. So now the question is, what skills do you have? Absolute silence, wow. Cooking? Damien, okay. Anyone else? Yes, Natalia? Sports? Drawing? Writing? Sorry? Reading? All right, okay. So the thing is, though, a lot of people think they don't have any skill, but the truth is that a skill can be something, even something simple, that you don't think of that much, but you're good at it, but you don't realize it. For example, someone can be very good at listening when someone talks to them, okay? And that is a good skill to have. Not everyone has that skill. You might not think of that as a very big thing, but it's something that God has given you for a certain purpose. So I'll explain that more when I get to the actual Bible story, okay? Everyone has heard the story of Joseph? Okay, so I'm not going to go through the whole story since you guys already know it, but I'll ask you guys what you know from that story. So, as a child, Joseph had dreams. Does everyone know that story? Okay, how many dreams did he have? 2 dreams. Good, okay. So, both dreams had the same meaning. I'm not going to explain the dreams, but according to both the dreams, the meaning was that Joseph would grow to be someone great, who will be respected by his brothers, by his father, so he'll come to a very high position. That's what God showed him from a very young age. Now, you guys, you're not kids, but you've crossed that stage now. But I'm sure everyone had a dream, right, when you were a kid. How many of you dreamed that you'd be an astronaut when you grow up? I had that dream. Obviously, it never happened. But how many of you have dreamed that you want to be a pilot when you grow up? Yeah. Okay. How many of you had a dream that you want to be like a famous actor when you grow up? Okay. Everyone has dreams. Okay. And the good thing about dreams is sometimes they need not be realistic because they're dreams, right? Dreams are not always realistic, but you still have them as a child. And Joseph, just like you guys, but in his case, the dreams were given by God, and he didn't know what that meant. It didn't seem realistic. Okay, God showed him that everybody would come and bow down to him, and that didn't seem realistic because he was one of the youngest in the family. Okay, but he still had the dreams. Now, teenage years, when you guys, many of you are teenagers here, what's your life like as a teenager? How many of you think teenage years are difficult? Only one person, the rest of you are doing just fine. How many of you think teenage years are difficult to get through? I can see people doing this. All right. Okay, so everyone has difficult times that they go through when they're teenagers. You're trying to find yourself. You're trying to, find your own identity. It's a confusing time, and it's very difficult to get through. It's hard enough as it is being a teenager, right? Without having extra problems in your life. But what Joseph went through was that at the age of 17, how many of you are 17 years old here? One person, okay, Damien, so you can relate, and Jennifer. Okay, at the age of 17, Joseph was sold by his brothers to some strangers. Yeah? And he was taken as a slave. Okay? You would think it can't get worse than that, right? Can't get worse than being sold as a slave and being separated by a family, taken to a foreign land, and made to serve a master who doesn't know who you are, who doesn't care who you are, and just makes you work. Can't get worse than that, right? But 17 to 30 got even worse for Joseph. So he went as a slave. He was very skillful in every single thing that he did. So whatever his master asked him to do as a slave, he took it seriously and he did it. So now so imagine you were very happy and you were like, you had friends and your life was going all well, and someone came and asked you to do something. Would you do it well, or would you just not bother? If things were going really well for you. If things were going really well for you and you were very happy and everything was going well in your life and someone gave you a task to do, how would you do it? Would you do it properly? You would do it properly. Let's say you're going through your own problems, okay? You're having issues with your friends, you're having issues at home, you're struggling at school. Someone comes and gives you a task. What would you do? Would you still do it with the same enthusiasm and be like, yes, I want to do this new thing that I've been given? Would you still do it? Okay, that's a good attitude to have. Personally, I don't think I would. I'd be like a bit like, well, I have my own problems to deal with and I don't need extra job right now. But you guys have the right attitude, okay? So that's how Joseph was. Even though he was a slave, okay, he was separated from his dad, he was separated from his family, he was being treated as a slave, and obviously slaves are not respected. And in spite of that, he did his best in whatever he was given. And then he moved up, and he moved up, and he moved up, and he got to the highest position he could be at. Then they throw him in jail, okay? So now the question is, he was skillful, right? And the Bible says that he followed God, anywhere he went, he followed God wholeheartedly. But God still allowed him to go through hard times. So this is what we forget sometimes. We think, oh, I'm following Jesus. I shouldn't have any problems in my life. It doesn't work like that. The problems that you go through in life are what mold you and help you develop your skills, okay? They're what teach you, the problems will teach you to be patient. They will teach you to be loving. They'll teach you to become more like Jesus. If you didn't have any struggles, you wouldn't change, would you? So think back when you were a child. The difficult times that you went through would be when you would have learnt a lesson that would be useful for you in the future, okay? So that's what happened with Joseph. Until the age of 30, so that's 13 years, he lived as a slave, he lived as a prisoner, and he went through a very difficult time. And he might have thought, I'm never going to get out of here. I'm never going to see my father again. I'm never going to see my brothers again. This is it. This is how my life is going to end. But he might have forgotten that dream. I don't know. I don't know if you remember that dream or not. The Bible doesn't tell us that. But there is someone who never forgot Joseph's dreams. Who do you think that is? God. He remembered that. Okay, so what are the skills that Joseph had? Okay, without looking at that, what are the skills from the story that you guys know about Joseph? Marisha? Something that I didn't come up with. Okay, Marisha? Sorry. Listening. Who did he listen to? Good, Thomas. The two people who are kept prisoners in the prison, when they were sad, right? Joseph had his own problems, but he didn't let that stop him from going and asking them, why do you look sad today? And he listened, okay? And he listened to their story from start to end before telling them, giving them advice or telling them what they mean. So listening, that's good. What other skill did Joseph have? Yes, listen. Seeing dreams, that's one. And? Nash, you had that. You just said it. Interpreting dreams, that's another skill. What else? Marisha? Accounting, yes. When? Counting? Counseling. Counseling, did you say? You look very confused. Counseling. All right. That is what you said, right? Counseling. Okay. Thomas? Accounting. That's right. So for the next 7 years, I can't hear you, Daniel. Cleaning? Okay, you mean as a slave? Okay, yeah. So everything that he did perfectly well. So these are the things that I came up with. He managed, okay, wherever he was a good manager. When he was a slave in the house of an Egyptian official, he was good at managing there. He was good at managing at the prison. He was good at managing after he came out of prison. But it was during those times that he actually learned those skills, right? If he never became a slave, if he never became a prisoner, he would have never had training to run a country, right? He had to learn those skills during the difficult times. He was a good listener. He listened to the two people who were in the prison when they looked sad, and obviously he had the ability to interpret dreams. He had the ability to serve others. That's a skill, and he was very good at planning. So you guys are learning that a lot for the past 2 days, right? How to plan before you start a task. So planning is another skill that Joseph had. Now the question is, I've already run through this, but when did he use these skills? Did he use them for the first time after he reached the palace? When did he start using these skills? When was the first time Joseph served someone? His father? His master, exactly. So after he became a slave, that's when his training started. Okay? And then he started interpreting. He always saw dreams as a child. When did he start interpreting them? When he was in the prison. Okay? He started managing when he was a slave. So every single skill that Joseph had, he developed after he became a slave, after he became a prisoner. Okay? And what was the result? Everyone knows the story. What happened to Joseph at age 30? Marisha? He didn't become a king, but he stood before the king, didn't he? Because he was faithful everywhere else, he ended up in front of the king, even though he was a criminal according to those times. So what we can learn from Joseph's story is God had a purpose for Joseph. Even before he knew it, God had a purpose for Joseph. And God gave him the skills to fulfill that purpose. So God gave him the skill to be a good listener. He gave him the skill to be to be a good manager, to plan well, to serve others. That's why even after he becomes second in command of Egypt, he was willing to serve the people. He didn't think about himself. He planned how to serve the people, how to serve the country, how to serve people from other countries. That was always his intention because that's how God trained him. That's the skill that he developed over time, okay? So God gave him the skills to fulfill the purpose that he had for him. And what did Joseph do? So what we do is that when God has given us a lot of skills, the thing is we don't spend the time to think about it. And we say, I don't have any special skills that I can use. I'm very normal. I'm not like this person. I'm not like that person. You know, I'm very normal. I'm very ordinary. But what did Joseph do? What did he do with his skill? Sorry? He helped others and he used his skill anywhere possible. Every time he got an opportunity to use his skill, he used it. He didn't sit there thinking, I'll wait for someone else to come and do it. Or, you know, I'm not good enough to do this. He always used his skill. Anytime he got an opportunity, he used his skill that God had given him. So he faithfully used his skill and in turn used that to fulfill God's purpose. So now the question is, what about us? Every single one of you has a purpose. God made every single one of you for a purpose. And he has also given you skills to fulfill that purpose. What you need to remember is, no one can fulfill the purpose that God has for you. You need to do that. Okay, you can't wait for someone else to come and fulfill the purpose that God has for you. That's your job. And the skills that you need for it, you have it. You don't need to wait for someone else to come with the skills to fulfill God's purpose for your life. You got the skill. You have a purpose. What are you doing with your skill? Okay, that's the question. So you're created for a purpose. God has given you talents and skill to fulfill that purpose. And who is the king you're standing in front of? So Joseph stood before Pharaoh, who was the greatest king who lived during that time. Which king are you standing in front of now? God, the greatest king from the beginning of time until the end of time. He is the greatest king, and we're standing before him. And he has given you this life, he's given you the skills, and he's waiting. Okay? He's waiting. Your life is an opportunity for you to fulfill God's purpose in this world. And he's waiting for you to put that skill to use. Okay? So our job is to use our skills to fulfill God's purpose. So to coming back to this, when you guys, the people who came forward, when you saw the sweet that I gave you, could you tell what was inside? Could you tell what flavor it had inside it? When did you realize? After you ate it. Okay, so what happens is, most of the time, the mistake that we make is, you look at your life, let's say you're the white jelly bean, okay? I look at my life and think, now you know what? I think I'm like spoiled milk. I don't have any good qualities that I can use. I don't think I have any good skills I can use. Look at Andrian. He's like the coconut flavor. He has all the good qualities. He can do it. I can't. What? No, I mean metaphorically, not literally the sweet. So when I look at myself, okay, think about yourself. When you look at yourself, you always underestimate, or you always think, no, I'm not good enough, or oh, I don't have the skills I need, or, it's too hard for me, I can't try it. But look at that person. They're much better than me. It would suit them. How many of you have thought that? Yeah, I've thought that many times, like, oh, no, that one's, like, I won't be able to do that, but maybe someone else can do it. Maybe this person can do it. And we start giving suggestions to God. Lord, maybe I'm not the right person. Why don't you use that person? I'll go speak to them. They might do a better job, okay? But you're not here to hire people to do God's work. You're here to do God's work, okay? So until you start looking inside yourself and you start praying to God saying, Lord, what purpose? What is that special purpose for which I'm here in this world? And what are the skills you've given me to do it? God is not going to leave you in the dark without a flashlight and say, find your way out. He always gives you what you need to fulfill his purpose, okay? So who gives the skill? Who gives you the skill? God, okay. What was the title? What was this? Skill? All right, let me go to the beginning. What? Someone had it right. What? Skill can bring before the king. Okay, good.